record. Good evening, everyone. We will give a couple of minutes to let everybody in. Thank you for your patience. Christy, I may make you a co-host so you can kind of let people in. And okay, you are a panelist. You should be able to let people in and all of that.
Okay.
It's just the attendees, and then you allow to talk, and that's how they will be able to chat and everything.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's topic pertaining to IEPs. I would like to introduce myself. I am Zubida Pasha. I am an educational support coach, and I am also a parent of an adult with autism and other health impairment. We are going to cover tonight the topic of IEP, but before I do so, I would like to clarify that the content of this document were developed under a grant from the U.S. Department of Education. However, the content do not necessarily represent the policy of the U.S. Department of Education, and you should not assume that there is an endorsement by the federal government. The project is managed under Dr. Anna Macedonia, and definitely we crafted the content as a parent training information center based, on the information that is available through IDEA. But also, I want you to know who we are, what we do. Family Matters is not a legal agency. We are a parent training information center. What we do is empower, educate, inform parents to be the best advocate for their kids. We do not really mislead the parent to say we are going to draft legal documents or provide you with any legal, under any circumstance, matters, because we are not authorized to practice law. So what is a parent training information center? They are a parent training information center. They are entities that provide advocacy skills. We help parents to build that toolbox to advocate for their kids, to access what they need within the school systems. We start from the initial evaluation all the way to transition. Every state should have one or two parent training information center. Our organization, Family Matter PTRC, is statewide now, and we support all families from the entire state. We focus and hone in on building skills to advocate rather than attending meetings, IEP meetings, because we consider that, but the focus is to provide you all with the tools necessary to handle the meetings and to be prepared and to make sure you are meaningfully involved in your child IEP meeting. Because at the end of the day, parents are the expert on their children. We can attend and we can talk, but we don't know the child. So we will rely on the parent to give us those information. So we focus on skill building, empowering you with information versus attending meetings. That's what I'm trying to say here in a nutshell. So, like I said, we will refer to parent in this presentation, caregivers, caretakers, because every family look different. So I may say parent, I may say caregivers, guardians, etc. Here I am. I am a parent. I am an education coach. I am a fun coworker. I am a sister. I am a friend. I am a family member, a neighbor, all of it. That being said, I take everything very seriously in a very, very smiley way. So why an IEP? What is an IEP and why does it matter? We really want to highlight some of the things because I did not really give an IDEA principles, 6 principles. So the IEP come through the Individuals with Disability Education Act, which is the law that governs special education, and the IEP is the third core of IDEA. So IEP is critically important, and parents really need to understand all the ins and outs of the IEP. So that being said, we have to make sure that the parents are equipped with the necessary information that they need to advocate for their child during the IEP. Our goal in this session is a comprehensive guide that will we will walk you through all the components of the IEP. We will make sure you have all the information necessary that you need to know about this legally binding document. We are going to really cover the legal protection, which the IEP, guarantee free appropriate public education. What does that mean? It means that the school are obligated to provide free education for students who are eligible and entitled to receive education through an IEP to meet their specific needs. So that's what the legal protection. Then the IEP must be tailored and individualized. The word that really highlight the IEP is individualized education program. So right there, we're talking about tailored, personalized, crafted, and created only solely to meet that particular one child's unique need. We cannot copy paste the IEP from one child to the other within the same age, same disability, same grade level. Does not work that way because the IEP should be individualized based on those specific needs. Then the IEP, it is a collaboration and a partnership between the parent and the school. Because again, IDEA, one of the core principles of it, the fifth one, is that the parent are equal partner in the process. It means that the parent have the same leverage of decision making as the rest of the team within the school system. And again, we parent are expert on our children's disabilities. We know when something is not working. We know when something is working. Just to look at our children's eyes, we know if they are well or they are not well. So IEP is a roadmap for your child education journey. Understanding each section will empower you to advocate effectively and successfully. So let's get into it. So the component of the IEP are student information and eligibility, the present level of performance, measurable annual goals, special education services, and progress monitoring. Each one of these sections really it's detail that I will provide. Feel free to ask question by unmuting or going to the chat. Let me make sure that the chat, okay, everyone can chat now. You can chat or you can unmute and ask questions. We have 1 hour. I will do my best to answer questions while I am covering the entire curriculum. So I want to assure you that this process, while sometimes it's complex, it is designed to support your child, and we are here to guide you. The IEP is more than just a piece of paper. I want to really be specific. Sometimes we'll bring that pile of paper. It's a lot of pages. Sometimes it starts between 20 and it goes all the way sometimes to 50. And I've seen the IEPs well above 50 if you combine the reports from the evaluators. That can be overwhelming for a parent, and they can like, okay, it is too many pages, too many words, too many statements in here. But we want you to know that the IEP is not just about a pile of paper, but it is a legally binding document. It's a contract between you and the school. That being said, the school have to really abide by that contract, and whatever is in that contract should be implemented and provided as is. And we really, really want you to retain that jargon of legally binding document. It is also important to note it is updated annually. Every year we update the IEP. We also want you to know that there are these components that we want you to understand, and each one of them is critically important and has a role in that document. So for the student information and eligibility, this includes basic information and formally state your child disability category. It is the gateway to special education service. This information is coming from the evaluation, whether it is the initial evaluation or the 3-year re-evaluation, the triennial evaluation. In that information and eligibility, there are many reports from clinicians who had conducted hopefully comprehensive evaluation and assessment to dissect the child or the student strengths as well as the needs. Our takeaway from the evaluation, which is the gateway to the special education processes, is not only the needs, but the strengths first and foremost. Why? We all the time bridge the gap utilizing the strengths of the students. That also have to be kept in mind. Then we are going to really talk about present level of performance, both of them, academically and functionally. This is really the foundation of the IEP. This component really is everything that we need. And from the information that is outlined in this section 2, which is the present levels, then we are going to be able to discuss and craft and work collaboratively to come up with measurable goals that will be, bridging those needs for that particular student and help the student to make that expected progress and to access the general education curriculum. I am saying this to say that students with disabilities, they are eligible for special education and make that progress, not kind of sometimes perception about students with disabilities. They are in special education settings. They are in settings where they will access their educational supports and services to access the general education curriculum. There is one curriculum for all the students, whether they have a disability or don't have a disability. But those with a disability who have IEP, they will access that general education curriculum with supports and accommodation. Once we really kind of work collaboratively on the measurable goal, then we will add accommodations and modifications and supports to make sure we have a wholesome picture to help the student access their educational needs. Again, it's kind of like a picture puzzle, and you will complete the entire picture puzzle with these accommodations and modifications and addition and support. Then we will really make the effort to discuss the progress monitoring. That section will explain how the school will track the child progress toward their annual goal and how often you will be informed. There are roles. The school have a role in this process, and the parent have a role in this process, and we will cover each one of them at length. So present level describes where your child is now, academically and functionally. When you hear the word functionally, is not academic. It can be communication, it can be sensory, or it can be organizational, social, emotional. It's other than academia. Then this present level is a baseline, and it is essential because it will give us where the child is based on their age, their grade level, and also will give us a lot of information on the strengths of the child as well. I don't take all the information for special education only for the needs, but I want to know the strength of that student. In the word disability, there is a word, there is, if you dissect the word, there is ability. So children with disability have many, many strengths that sometimes we don't think about because we are so focused on meeting their needs. Yes, the conversation is about meeting the needs, but also we have to use that strength that they have to bridge those gaps. It is very important to know that this PLUP, or the present level of academic performance and academic achievement and functional performance, it's very important, and it is the core of the IEP. I call it the centerpiece of the IEP because a lot of information will kind of be utilized in other section of the IEP. It is a requirement under IDEA, under federal regulation, and we are providing you here with the federal code that you could look up yourself when you have a chance. Because of the importance of this section, we want to make sure you have all the federal codes and as best as we can the Illinois guidelines, as well. So what should be included in this present level? The academic performance with specific data. This present level is data-based. It's really data-driven. We need data coming from assessment, from evaluations, from everyday work, from observations, from all the teachers can collect, whether it is on a daily basis, during standardized testing, or during those big evaluations that we conduct every 3 years, I should say. Also, in the present level, we should be specific on the functional skills such as organization. As I said, functional is non-academic, but we need to look into those aspects because we don't focus only on the reading and the math skills and the writing, but we also want our students and our babies to be organized, be aware of the time, be also aware of the quality of the work that they produce, be aware of the behavioral challenges that they are facing, and they may not even understand it, but we parent and school must put effort to highlight all of that information in the present level. In the present level, the school obligation is also to provide an explanation on how the disability is adversely impacting the student to participate in general education setting. This is very important. This information will come again from different sources, such as the evaluations, from those reports, from observation, from a lot of sources. And again, as I stated, we don't only focus on the need, but rather we highlight the strengths, the interests, and the preference. All of this is in the present level. So sometimes questions we can ask ourselves: is this description current and accurate? Does this reflect both strengths and challenges? Are these specific example or data points? Does this explain how the disability affect the learning? So these are questions sometimes that parents ask while we are working with them or navigating their children IEP. Well, the only way you will know if it is accurate, if it is really backed up with sample work, with charting, with a lot of very much data that was collected and gathered with fidelity. Does it reflect both strengths and challenges? It should. During the evaluation processes, the clinicians have to really follow IDEA guideline in that process, meaning they have to do a comprehensive utilizing multiple tools to assess the student in all areas of suspected disabilities. If a child is really struggling with one area of academia, then we have to look in the other areas that really would be impacted. If a child having difficulties with reading, we have to look into the reading aspect, all of it, from comprehension, writing skills, etc. Then we should not forget the math, because in math there is a reading component. And also in math, there are word problems that they need to read and comprehend. So if there is reading issue, we just don't limit the testing on that reading particularly. We have to expand, because there will be areas that will be impacted with this reading challenge. How does the disability impact and affect the learning? That is a statement that will come again through these sources of evaluation and assessment. There are sometimes confusion and statements that are vague. In some IEPs that we had supported families, we have seen below grade level, or they are close to grade level. I want to be specific in the present level. We want to really be pinpointing the level of the student by grade, and if they are below that grade, it's okay, but they have to be specific. Where are they? If they are below that grade, for example, if the student is in third grade and they are reading at second grade, immersion second grade level, it has to be specifically saying immersion second grade level. So we have, yes, yes, we are going to send you the presentation. I am multitasker, so I am doing the Q&A and then presenting. Um, Statements such as struggle with reading, then the present level should provide a clear picture of developing appropriate, because the present level will give us the platform to develop these goals so we can bridge this gap. So we have to make sure we are very clear and very specific when it comes to present level. Best practice in present level, it has to tell the story about the child as a whole person. We don't just take one component and we will work on one component. I have really a funny way to express this, where way back when my daughter was in school, I used to tell them, do you want me to sit in the head just for learning and leave the body at home? I can't do that. So I have to send her as a whole. So you have to deal with the whole package. If she is having a moment of sensory overload, that's exactly why accommodations, behavior intervention plan, and all of those supports should be put in place. So I'm saying this to say that the present level will give us the child snapshot on where they are with precision and being specific. It is really, really important to understand that the present level is the foundation of the IEP. From the evaluation to goals, we have to really kind of make the connection between each step in special education. The evaluation information is coming directly from all of those testing that the professionals have conducted. And once we really have an idea on the child or the student's needs and strengths, then we are going to say, okay, here is the strength, but here are the areas where the child is struggling. So let's bridge these gaps, utilizing, of course, the strengths that the student has. If an assessment identify a deficit in reading comprehension, the IEP must include a goal to address it. Better yet, I'm going to provide you with my daughter's example. To today, as an adult, she still struggles sometimes with comprehension. She is a literal learner and a visual learner. So reading was not a problem. Comprehension was all the time the lower area where she does not perform well. So if you give her a WH question, you may get one answer correctly and provide it, with specific and with detail. That being said, we identify the strengths of really the reading and pronouncing the words correctly. All of that phonemic awareness was there. The decoding was there. The fluency was there. But when it comes to comprehension, then we were very much consistent with the goals in comprehension year after year, from really early elementary all the way to high school until she exited from the school system. And I am saying this because sometimes some people hear her reading and they're like, oh, she's fine. I said, what is definition of fine? If you ask her a WH question verbally and she's not able to give you a detail and a conclusion, even verbally, I'm going to say concise, but it has to have like a meaningful response pertaining to comprehension for a passage. And she was not able to pull that. And I said, don't look at just the reading aspect, the fluency, all of that outside, I could say. And they said, oh, now it makes sense to us. Then the writing, of course, if she does not comprehend, then the writing will not be, at grade level. So the goals, they were bridging these gaps. So testing reveals specific area of need with quantifiable data. I'm so sorry, I cannot say the word. We utilize that data to quantify the information and understand the needs. And by trials, by the levels of testing that we had conducted, then the present level will translate the evaluation finding into current performance description, precisely and specifically where the needs are happening. So that's why we want to make sure that we caption that information in the present level. Then once we have that data from the evaluation and from the results of the evaluation and the report, then we are going to translate and we make that as a current performance description. Then we would say, okay, this is the finding, this is where the gaps are happening. Let's talk about goals where we'll bridge those, deficits with these goals. Let's work on where we see the areas are that the child is struggling with. Then once we put the goals together, then we will say, what are other things that we need to put in place for these goals to be achieved? Among those things are the accommodations and modifications that we can utilize here as an example. Once we talk about the goals, we have to be very specific on the area of need for each goal that we are going to tackle. So the goals have to be specific. It has to define what the student will do. Very, very, very direct and very specific. For example, if a student is really having difficulties with decoding and they have been decoding only 10 CVC words or between 8 and 10, then they will really have to increase that level of the decoding words up to 20. Will improve reading, it is not specific. Yes, we are hearing the word and jargon reading, but we are not specific. Reading what? How many words? Are we looking at the fluency? Are we looking at how many words per minute? What are we looking in reading? So improve reading, it is not a specific statement. We also have to measure the number or the criteria for success to achieve this goal. Some schools, they go by percentage, and some schools, they go by trial. But you have here the federal code to really look at the criteria. I call it the criterion for measurement. Then we have to keep in mind that we need the goal to be achievable and attainable. We cannot put a goal that will be surpassing the present level of the student or be under the present level of the students. So we cannot go too up or cannot go really too low. So the achievable, that will be challenging but realistic given the current level and timeline. It really, really focused on building on existing skills and scaffolding to the next level. So this is really important information. That's the information really that we have to focus on when we talk about SMART goals. Relevancy, it really important to also make the goals relevant. It's directly addressing a need identified in evaluation. Let's say the example of my daughter and her comprehension challenges. So it's very important that we pinpoint that skill deficits of comprehension. During the evaluation, every subtest in the reading and academia came okay, except the comprehension and, of course, the application in math. So we have to make that goal relevant to that specific need of comprehension and answering WH question, because she needs to access the general education curriculum, and she have to make that expected progress based on the grade level and on what her IEP is built for her to do. The goals have to be time bound. We cannot have goals from kindergarten going to sixth grade. Every year every year we review the IEP one, and we discuss a set of goals. It has to be specific when the goal will be achieved, typically within 1 year, which is, the timeline of the IEP meeting. There is another question. I'm going to peep at it very quickly. Someone, Danielle, she says, something I have been wondering is what the difference between your agency, we are a parent training information center. We help parents to advocate. Advocacy agency, they may take the lead and advocate on your behalf. We help you to advocate for your child with a disability. I hope I had answered your question. Here are a couple of examples of goals. The first one is Jamie will improve reading skills. You can tell from here that this statement is broad, is not specific. And we don't have any timeline, we don't have any measurement, we don't have anything pertaining to relevancy of the goal for Jamie as a student. So we have to rewrite that goal and say by May 2025, when given grade level passage, Jamie will read aloud 120 words per minute with 95% accuracy as measured by weekly curriculum-based measurement in 4 out of 5 consecutive trials. Here, the goal is very specific on how many words per minute. We are also measuring by 95% of accuracy. We're measuring utilizing the CBM, which is the curriculum-based measurement. We also add in the 4 times out of 5 on a weekly basis. So here you can see the achievable part. It implied by the baseline built on skills. So she already can read, but we want her to increase the number of words per minute that will increase her speed in reading. So here really it's broken down very much detail, given us the time, given us the measurement of the percentage, and given us also what are we utilizing to use for the measurement, which is the curriculum-based measurement. Another goal in math, the student will do better in math. This is a very general, broad statement for a goal. We need to be specific what we want the student to do. Well, we want the student here, we had rewritten the goal, and we said we want the student to do 2-digit addition problem with regrouping. So here we are very specific, and they will solve 8 out of 10 problems correctly on 3 consecutive weekly assessment. So the goal is specific. We want Marcus to learn the addition with regrouping at utilizing the 8 problem out of 10 correctly. Then the measure that we utilizing is the 8 problem out of 10 that they will be done correctly. Then the time that we are going to utilize here is the 3 consecutive weekly assessment. So you see here, really, we are breaking down this goal by piece. And then we utilize the time bound by the end of the IEP year. So goals have to be smart because we have to focus and hone in on those skill deficits to make sure we are bridging them with the instruction, with the accommodation and the support that the student is in need of so they can be successful. And we're providing in here all of these goals that you can see because it's 6:31 and I want to continue with covering all of the content. After we discussed the goals and with the hope we had really worked hard on putting together SMART goals where the student will access their education with success, then we are going to work collaboratively, the parent and the school, on what is the time, the method, the schedule of reporting the progress. So goals are only meaningful if the progress is tracked consistently with fidelity. The IEP should specify exactly how and how often your child progress will be measured and reported to you. So progress monitoring will include the method of the data collection. It can be observation, it can be work sample, I call that portfolio, assessment, frequency, and the count of the service provision. Like if the speech pathologist meet with your child twice a week, you have to have that frequency count. Then you and the speech pathologist will say, how are you going to report to me? Are you going to show me the work that you're going to do with my child? Then you can kind of request work sample, etc. Sometimes it's just a chart that they will complete, like, okay, we met this day and that day. We work on whatever those goals, like goal 1 or 2 or 3, etc. The schedule, how often the data is collected. It may be daily, weekly, or monthly. You and the school, you as an equal partner, have that leverage of making that decision what will work for you. Typically, schools, they gather the data in a quarterly base for reporting. You don't want to wait a whole quarter before you get any information on your child progress towards, those goals. You have to continue communicating with the teachers and with the school staff that they provide those services and support. Questions sometimes that you need to ask yourself. Who is responsible for collecting the data? Well, it depends on what goal and who is the service provider. If it is an academic goal, it's the special education, teachers, and personnel. If it is related services, it may be that particular related service provider, such as speech or OT or social work, etc. What happens if progress is insufficient? Call a meeting to make adjustment and to see why this is not working, what is missing, because sometimes people they mean well, but you have to be involved and you have to kind of prompt people to say, I am looking at these grades, they don't look okay. When my child bring the homework, they're not able to complete the homework on their own. I have to provide them with this amount of service, of support or prompting. That will tell you that the progress is not sufficient. How will I be informed of progress between formal report? Because you have the report card pickup that is happening every quarter or I think twice a year. But in between, how will you be informed? You and the school will define that, and you can say, I can come, I can discuss that, or during, report card pickup, which again, it does not happen every month. It happened like 3 times a year, I believe, or 2 times a year. That may not be enough to really track the progress. Can the goal be adjusted mid-year if needed? If you see insufficient progress, that is a prompt to call a meeting to make an adjustment for the goals. It is very important that the federal law require you receive progress report as often as parent of non-disabled peer receive. If a parent who have a child without an IEP, they receive that IEP, that report card twice or three times a year. My child have been out of school for a long time. Then you really have to have that same opportunity to receive that report card, just like the parent of a child without disability. In Illinois, regulation also specify reporting frequency. You can check the administrative code and the Part 22C. Don't wait for the annual review of the IEP to say there is progress or no progress. You can monitor that, and you can have an idea how your child is doing towards those goals. Services, accommodations, and modification. These words will be repeated throughout the meeting. I am sure you have heard all of these words, and they are frequently repeated throughout the meeting. So we are going to really define each one of them and what does that mean for your child IEP, and what should you really retain from each one of them. All of them are important. All of them are relevant for your child IEP, but each one of them really have a definition. Special education services, it is very much specially designed instruction by qualified personnel. Example, if there is a reading issue, it has to be provided by a reading specialist or interventionist. If there is a problem with communication domain, then we need a speech therapist who will provide that related service, who is qualified, etc. All of these special education services also have to list the frequency of those services. If it is reading, typically reading, math, and other academic area, they are provided on a daily basis. And you will have those blocks of like reading, then the block of math, and then social science and social studies. All of this will also give you how many minutes of support will your child will receive in those areas. Also, the related service will tell you how many times your child will meet with that service providers, how many minutes or how many hours per month. It depends on what your school utilize. The very common one is the minutes per week, but I have seen also hours per month. Accommodation definition is how the student learn or demonstrate knowledge without changing expectations, without touching the curriculum or the content. Versus modification is what the student is expected to learn, reducing the complexity or the quantity, not quality, of the curriculum. We don't touch the quality of the curriculum. There is not such statement, because I have heard, oh, we are going to kind of water down the curriculum. Those statements really kind of make me concerned. We don't really put any change into the quality of instruction. Why? All students access general education curriculum. We can modify the quantity, the number of questions. Instead of having 50 questions for 10 pages passage, we are going to provide that student with 10 questions. Instead of doing statement questions, we can do multiple choice questions, and we can provide some prompts like the keyword highlighted or bolded or underlined, that type of thing. See, here we are not touching the quality, the quantity only. Simplified in the text, alternative assessment, used when grade level content is not accessible. Accommodation really is how the outside will be accommodated for the student to access it. An example, providing extended time, providing professional seating, text-to-speech, breaks, graphic organizer, putting the student away from the door and from distractions, providing a cushion on a chair because of sensory. All of these are really things to help the student access their education environment, is how. But the what is when we talk about modification. Modification sometimes can come with the nuance of low expectation. Sometimes they can say water down. I have heard that very frequently when I used to be in IEP meetings, when I used to work with the other organization in the Chicagoland. That statement should not happen, and we have to correct it if to ask, what does that mean? Are you touching the quality of the instruction? We should not really touch the quality of instruction. Accommodations level the playing field. Modification change the playing field. Most students benefit from both accommodations and modification. Some students benefit from accommodation first, and modification should be used thoughtfully since they may affect curriculum access. Once we finish the conversation pertaining to the IEP goals, the accommodation, the modification, the specialized design instruction, then we have to say where these services are going to be provided. We want you to really understand and grasp the concept that special education is what and how, then where. This is how special education should be handled. What is going on, how the disability is impacting the student, then where the services and support will be provided. Children with disabilities should be educated with non-disabled peer to the maximum extent. This is IDEA definition quoted. To the maximum extent appropriate can be sometimes confusing to parent because it can say, oh, I am excluding children with disabilities to be educated only here or there. No, we have to make sure that children with disabilities should be educated with non-disabled peer when they are provided with all the supports necessary and services and accommodation to do so. If that does not work for them, there is something that is called continuum of placement. So the stardom is the general education with appropriate support, unless the IEP team determined that education in general education cannot be achieved satisfactorily. Then we have to look at the other range of placement or the other options of placement. So the other options of placement is mandated and is directed and guided by the level of support that the student is in need of. Then once we really look into that option and make sure that we are steady in decision making about where the student should be educated, then we have to really put in motion supplementary aids and services. Before removing a child from general education, the team must consider that what support could enable the success in general education in that environment, which is a general education. So question that a parent can ask, what percentage of the day will my child be in general education? What support will be provided for my child to be successful in the general education setting? If my child is in a separate setting, what is the plan to increase time with non-disabled peer and where and how? How my child will participate in extracurricular and non-academic activity. So the LRE is not a place, it is rather a principle. As a matter of fact, it is the third core principle of IDEA. No, the fourth, I should say, I'm sorry. It's the fourth core of IDEA. So you have free appropriate public education, appropriate evaluation, IEP, and then the least restrictive environment. And right here, it tells you that special education is set of services, then placement is last. Then once we really look into the continuum of the LRE and where the student is supposed to be educated, then we want you to know that in the IEP, and once your child turns 14 and a half, there is a component that is very important at that stage that is called transition. The transition services in the IEP became one conversation when the student is 14 and a half. Transition is a set of activities that will help the student to really look into the future after high school. That's what transition definition as a whole means, that it's a movement between the high school, between the school system and the real world. But what are we doing here to prepare the student to become independent when they exit the high school? The transition will focus on core areas of education and training, employment, and independent living skills. This is very important to pay attention to when the child is 14 and a half. There are many sources of information that you really need to consider to understand your child's interests, preference, and skill set. Why? Because they need to choose what they want to do after high school. They want to go to college for a year, community college, or they just want to do vocational training. What will they want to work full time, part time, etc.? Will they want to live with you, or they want to live on their own? Do they understand living on their own? What does that mean? What is really needed to understand that aspect, from, lease and mortgage, the financial planning, all of those things are in between. So the IEP must include measurable, SMART goals pertaining to each area that you are seeing here in this slide. For if they are going to college, we have to really craft goals that they should be SMART. And if they go into work, we do the same thing, and independent living, the same thing. All of it has to be really with goals. Transition services needed to help the student reach the goals. A statement of interagency and linkage should be stated in the transition planning. Interagency is the other agencies who will push in the meetings, such as the Department of Rehabilitation, or the Division of Developmental Disability, who can send the ISC, which is those PASS agencies, the pre-admission screening agencies, where if there is a child with autism, they will come in and discuss, the transition planning. Is the student or the youth are going to work, who is going to do what, etc. The interagency is really important in this process, because it really will continue helping the family and the student to access adult services beyond high school. In the conversation with transition, we have to take in consideration the course of study, what classes, what training the student will need. And all of this have to be like a chain, and they interlock. One piece lead to the other. Parent role, of course, is crucial and critical in every aspect of the special education, especially the transition, because you have to really share at that time the interest, the strength, the dreams, and the goal of your child for the future. You're concerned about your child's life as a whole. You have to mention your culture and your values in that conversation, because, again, you send your students as a whole. You don't take away the culture, leave it at home, and then you send your student. It's all in there. The transition plan should reflect your child's vision for their future, not just what is typical. And what's typical sometimes in conversation about transition is, well, the child will just volunteer. That's low expectation. When you tackle special education, keep in mind high expectations. To prepare for the IEP meeting, there are many things that you can do. Among those things is to read the current IEP that you have now, and to understand what is done now. So when you go, what you are going to discuss for the next set of goals, etc. You also have to very much so look at that progress and those reports. Is your child meeting the goals that are outlined in the current IEP? And this is work that can require 2 to 3 weeks to prepare and gather all the information. When we say prepare, make sure you are prepared in writing. When you go to that meeting, you have your parental input statement. It can be just bullet points. You don't have to do narratives. Just focus on what are the things that you want your child to work on, and what are the things that will help your child to succeed. It's very simple. I used the student, there is a tool from the State Board of Education. It's the Student Record Keeper. It's a very simple tool. It has been around for a long time. They had upgraded it, I think, in 2020. But what I took away from that little tool is the strengths. I kind of state my daughter's strengths, then the things that we need to work on, the priorities, like again, the comprehension was one of the priorities, the social pragmatic language, because she did not have, that social pragmatic language. We want her to kind of communicate with her peers and be sociable. Then we want the school to know the challenges and the skill deficits that she had. And we kind of pick a couple of them, and the list, of course, of concerns is all the time big, but we want to kind of prioritize. That's what I'm trying to say here. Before the IEP meeting, organize your documents, review the notes, prepare kind of, again, everything should be documented. Everything should be in writing, not to forget. During the meeting, take notes, ask questions. If you are not clear, ask for clarification. Take breaks. If you feel overwhelmed, ask for a break. It's not a problem. I'd rather for you to take a break and then come back kind of with a clear head than kind of get confused or not clear, and then you may not have the time to express yourself, where you will ask all of your questions, etc. After the meeting, review the IEP that you will be provided with, follow the action items, and document any concerns in writing. If you see that the IEP reflects everything that you have discussed based on the note that you have taken, it's fine. If not, you have 10 calendar days after the IEP meeting to come back and say, I reviewed the document and I found this information that is not correct. Could you please correct it? Or do we have to hold a meeting? All of these things. What to bring to the meeting is your current IEP document, report card, work samples, outside evaluation, if there are any, because it will help you back up what you are expressing as a concern. School does not have to take the outside evaluation. They can only consider it. Be clear. What is considering mean? If they consider it, what does that mean? Are they going to take the recommendation and translate them to support and services? What does that mean? They can take that evaluation from you and put it in the file, but they will never utilize that. So ask question if you have any outside evaluation. Ask, are you going to use it? How? Where that information can be found in the IEP. You want that information in the IEP because the IEP is a legally binding document. Also, the IEP is a living document, meaning that you can open the IEP at any time of the year. Living document. Anytime there is a concern, we can open the conversation and we can open the IEP. Any concerns that you may have, you can take someone with you to the IEP meeting because it will be very helpful. Someone who can take notes, redirect the conversation. Above all, keep the conversation centered around your child and their needs. Take a picture. That will be very helpful to redirect the conversation, because sometimes teams, they get overwhelmed, as we get overwhelmed, and they said, okay, what do you want? Well, it's not about me. It's about my child. Keep the I statement. I would like to see, or I want my child to work on. Refrain from I want, because it's not about you. It's about your child and what they need. Here are kind of some questions here to help you prepare for the meeting. Know your rights. Your rights for the IEP meeting is to request an IEP meeting at any time because it's a living document. You can bring anyone with knowledge or expertise about your child to help you, and I will recommend that. You can audio record the meeting, but you have to tell them, because if you do it on your own, it can lead you to some legal trouble. Make sure you request recording. You request it in writing. You have to provide a reasonable explanation to why you need the recording. You don't have to sign the IEP at the meeting. You can take it home, review it. You have 10 calendar days to review that document. At the 10th calendar day, you can say, I am agreeing, go ahead and implement, or no, I am not agreeing, and then you have to provide a prior written notice, an explanation to why you are not agreeing. You have the right to receive a copy of the IEP, a draft of the IEP 3 days before the meeting here in Illinois. Illinois is giving us this privilege of 3 days before the meeting. I would say it is a reasonable time if the school is diligent to send you that document within 3 days. So these are really notes on the side that we want you to do. The role of the parent in the meeting. Parents are equal partner in the process. Parents have expertise on their children. The IEP team should also include a special education teacher who will have the expertise in specialized instruction and accommodations, evaluation specialists. It can be, psychologists or other service providers. The student, whenever is appropriate. If your student is young and they cannot stand the whole hour and a half of the IEP, take them for those couple of minutes to say what they need to say and to really make the conversation objective about that student. General education teacher who will really express and provide perspective on general education and classroom strategies. School district representative who will make, those decisions about, the services and support and provide resources to the parent, related services if they have been, in the conversation about the IEP, and others with expertise and knowledge on special education. To effectively advocate for your child, ask question, ask clarification. Your voice matter in this IEP meeting. You have to be equipped with a lot of information to lead it with success. You have to lead the meeting because you are equal partner in the process. There is a question, I believe, in here. I want to tackle the question. Danielle, she said, my child need further evaluation, but the school is hesitant. What are the parent legal rights? First of all, Danielle, put it in writing why you need a further evaluation and in what area. So that's your right. If they say no, they have to provide you with an explanation why they are refusing to conduct an evaluation. Then the timeline for the evaluation are 14 days when you put that request in writing. And if they say, yes, we will conduct the evaluation, there is a 60 school day timeline that is involved. I can put my information if you would like, and we can have a side conversation if that help you. If you disagree during the meeting, disagreement does not mean failure. It is your right to disagree because you are the expert on your child. However, you have to follow the process. If you disagree about evaluation, that you may request independent evaluation at public expense. Except IEE would lead to maybe if they say yes, then it is a good thing. But if they say no, then they have to due process you. The school can due process you. You can request mediation, or you can request a due process. You can file a complaint if you see something that is not done appropriately and your child IEP services are violated. So you have all of this, but above all, in our line of work, we all the time tell the parent, go back to the team, go back to the service providers. If there is a problem with communication, request a facilitated IEP. Sometimes, it's just communication. Your side, my side, and then sometimes we come, in the middle and we don't hear each other. Request a facilitator IEP and see if it will help. If it does not, then go through the mediation and all the steps for due process. Your voice, again, matter. You really have to provide information about your child's strengths, your concern, progress you notice, things that had worked at home and in the community, your high expectation, what are your hopes and what are your dreams for your child, any relevant information about your child pertaining to their medical or otherwise, because every information is important in this process and it has relevancy in the IEP process. These are really input statement that we had provided you with that you could look into. We will share that the presentation with you. We also shared a lot of information here pertaining to the IEP and the resources that really helped us to craft this presentation. More information and more resources about the IEP. Here is another form, an example about the IEP form in Illinois. Information here that is coming from the State Board of Education. we want you to really look at this information pertaining to students in Illinois, so you can have what is the IEP forms looking like. And all of this information is coming from the SEA, which is ISB, Illinois State Board of Education. With that, I am done. I thank you very much, but I don't want you to leave until you give us your input. I'm going to put the survey in the chat. The topic is understanding your child IEP. Can you see the survey? Christy, can you see the survey in the chat?
Yeah, I'm jumping on right now.
Okay.
I was pulling it up like it was going to be a QR code.
No, it is not. It is not. We have
I'm so
shifted.
spoiled. That's
It's
all.
okay. That's okay. I am providing the
Taking
topic
good care
right
of us.
here.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to type it in right now.
Okay. I have put it in the chat.
Oh, yep. It'll let me link that way. Thank you
Okay.
so much for pulling this up for me today. I really appreciate it. You're just
No problem at all. I really appreciate
here
the
and so
opportunity.
informed. So thank you so much.
No problem. Danielle, I'm going to provide my information in the chat just for the audience if they need it, to make sure you know if there are any further questions. Here is my email. That's best. That's the best way you can get a hold of me. Please complete this evaluation. It is very important to our grant and to our work. Let us know how did we do, and if we need to improve, we need to know from you. I'm gonna again repost the evaluation. We need your feedback. In between, are there any questions that I can answer? Danielle, I just put my email in the chat. Please confirm that you had seen it.
Thank you again so much for doing this presentation today. We really appreciate it.
No problem at all. I really appreciate the opportunity. I am putting my name because as I opened the survey, I saw the presenter name is also needed in here. Please complete this evaluation. It's very, very important for us. It's critically important. Great. Wonderful. Any other questions or concerns? Okay, then. We had a good session, very good participation. I thank you very much again for this opportunity. Looking forward to continuing our work together.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Pleasure. Take care.
Have a
Have a
good
good
night.
night, all.
See you Thursday.
Bye.